Are you ready? It's time for another great infotaining show filled with power-packed business and life information. Welcome to Your Future Is Now with your host, Jim Grant, and co-host, Don McGrath. Want to know how to create a fantastic TED Talk? Or how you can become an author or a speaker or build your own online business? Maybe it's reaching a level of success in your life that you deserve. Their show is designed to provide information to assist you towards your success and destiny. Each week, Jim and Don will interview a special guest and share exciting lessons. So grab a pen and paper, take some notes. Thanks for joining the show. Now, here's Jim.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Your Future Is Now. Don McGrath and I, Dandy Don as he's known around the world, we're very excited to be here, and we're so thankful that we are sponsored by SpeakersPathway.com. Dandy Don, SpeakersPathway.com is just not about speaking, is it, sir?
It's about communication. You know, speaking on a stage, speaking on video, speaking to small groups. Jim and I just went to a networking event this past week in Phoenix, and you know, it's not just about speaking from the stage. You have opportunities to speak to people in all different ways. Jim, it's like the same common techniques, right?
It really is, because whenever you're going to produce a video, or if you're an author going to speak about your book on a video or podcast or whatever, webinar, you need good speaking skills. And of course, at SpeakersPathway.com, we don't try to convince someone to become a speaker. We simply ask, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to create an online business? Do you want to be an author? Do you want to be a network marketer? What is your passion? And then at SpeakersPathway.com, we create the avenues and the pathway of training and coaching for you to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And Don, last week, you and I had a tremendous time out there in Phoenix, Arizona with Network Together with Robert Jones. And Robert is a previous guest on our show a few weeks back, and he's listed there on our SpeakersPathway.com. If you go there, you'll see our show, Your Future Is Now. You'll see Friday freebies, because all of our guests give Friday freebies, including us at SpeakersPathway.com, but also the guest. And just take a look at that, because those Friday freebies are still there. They're still available, aren't they, Don?
Absolutely, and they're super valuable. Go there, take a look at it. SpeakersPathway.com, Friday freebies. Take advantage. Go there and feast.
Absolutely. And today we're going to have a very special guest join us. This gentleman here is Mark Green. And first time me and Mark, we visited on the phone. We were supposed to be talking about, I think the reason why we were supposed to talk was to introduce ourselves and talk business. But see, he's retired military. I'm retired military. He was stationed one place at one time at Fort Stewart, Georgia, and I was at Fort McPherson, Georgia. So that just shot about an hour and 15 minutes of conversation, and we both forgot what we were calling each other about. But we want to give a shout out to Mark and say hello to you, Mark. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing awesome. Yeah, it was Fort Gillum, right there next
Fort
to
Gillum? That's right.
Fort Gillum. So, but yeah, I'm doing great. I'm just excited to be here on the show and just share a few things, and just I'm really happy that I was invited. So thanks.
Oh, you're more than welcome, because that's what Don and I do here on the Your Future Is Now. We bring in quality people that provide value to the listeners. And Don, we provided a lot of value out there in Phoenix for the Network Together.net group, didn't we?
Yeah, you know, it was one of these things. Our purpose was to go out and meet Robert face to face, go to his event, and just work with Robert. But you know, we were going to be there anyway, so we said let's set up some free workshops on Saturday. So we gave 2 free workshops. One was on storytelling, and the other one was about how to deconstruct an award-winning talk. And we had a blast, didn't we, Jim? I think we delivered a lot of value, and people were engaged and having a lot of fun.
They certainly were. And when you talk about storytelling, a lot of people ask me, "What's that about?" I said, "Well, Don's going to teach you, and we're going to teach you when we're out there. You're going to get hands-on practice about how to create your story, your life, to be able to use it as an example of how others can relate to you. You bring them into your story and help them get from where they are to where they want to be. That's what networking and being social is all about. I mean, Don, we've discussed that quite a bit, haven't we?
Yeah, Jim and I, when we get together, sparks just fly. We just come up with all kinds of ideas. So we're preparing for the storytelling workshop the night before, and we're talking about how we're hardwired to pay attention to stories. We just, as human beings, we love stories, and we looked things up. And so here's a factoid. So the Bible was first printed in the 1400s. So basically, from the first century, for 14 centuries, those stories in the Bible were carried forth by telling stories, right, Jim? And so that's astounding. Think of the power of all the stories that were carried forward for so many years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because since you mentioned the Bible, Jesus taught in parables. And the reason he taught in parables in that day and time is because that was the way people told stories. That's the way people learned. That's the way people were able to remember. And even past when Gutenberg invented the press, I think it was in 1458 or whatever it was, even in my family, a lot of the family history was passed down through stories. My father did not have a birth certificate until he was about 62 because the only record of his birth was in a family Bible. That a boy was born on this date, didn't have his name, to his parents. And that's how records were kept with a lot of people. We find that kind of amazing, and people kind of find it that maybe that didn't happen in my lifetime, but yes, it did. And a lot of people are like that. So stories are very, very important, and people love humor in your stories because humor. Don, would you share with them about that one TED Talk? It's got more laughs in it than, I think it was whatever the comedy is there you're familiar with?
Yeah, it's a little known fact, but the top TED Talk of all time with the most views, over 52 million views on TED.com and YouTube. It has more laughs per minute than the funniest Seinfeld episode. We just love humor. I believe it's Sir Walter Robson. He talks about how is our education system killing creativity? And he tells these adorable, funny, like gut-busting stories about children. And it's absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go to TED.com. It'll be on the main page. It's the most viewed YouTube video of all time, or most viewed TED Talk of all time. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because I remember when I was a kid in school, I was kind of bored, and there was no kind of a humorous story with the things that we were taught in school. The same is true with a lot of people out there, if I guess everybody. But I like to tell the funny story that when I was in elementary school there, junior high as a matter of fact, they took me out of the chemistry class, and they decided I'd be better off in biology. And I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't that. I was just a little small fire there in the lab. It wasn't anything, call the fire department over. But they put me in. They put me in the biology same time frame, and I thought, man, dissecting frogs right before lunch. What sick mind came up with that one?
And Jim, you just touched on something. I just did a Facebook Live lesson this morning about what makes things funny. And you and I talked about this in the workshop. Something has to be unexpected, and usually someone has to suffer. Usually, it's human nature. We love to poke fun at ourselves and the human condition. But the best person to poke fun at when you're talking and you're using humor is who, Jim?
Yourself.
Yourself. And you just did a great job with an example, right? Poking fun at yourself. You're up on a stage, you're some sort of big expert, and by telling a funny story and poking fun at yourself, people really connect to you, don't they?
They really do. And, Mark, we haven't forgot about you. We're covering a few things here before we go to our first break. But, what's amazing is that people love the underdog. And so that came natural to me all of my life. And people just love to relate to the underdog. And I tell the story like the New York Yankees they've won a lot of World Series. And you hear a lot of people say, well, I'm not really a fan of baseball, but the New York Yankees are playing, let's say the San Diego Padres, who hadn't won that many World Series. I think they won one, I'm not sure. But anyway, people say, I'm going to pull for them because they haven't won that many. The Yankees, they've always won. Everybody loves the underdog. And Mark, in your work with the Mindset Vet, I know that you can relate to that, and you have a lot of people out there who can connect with you because of that mindset. Is that correct, sir?
Oh, yeah. So I think one of the most important things is that you guys hit on it already, and that is story. Because we realize that the stories that we share can connect, and when you're authentic with it, and then every once in a while you do laugh at yourself, going, "Wow, why would I do that?" Or why would that happen to me, or whatever. It really does connect with people, and when you have a story where you have maybe a high point in your life, and then maybe you have it was doubtful that you would have the things that you do in your life, and then you share those lessons, as well as you become that person that understands that. Mm-hmm. It does take on a different meaning, and I think that's what happened to me.
Yeah, it really does. It's sometimes you're going through things like that. Don and I, we've talked about it, and Dandy, I mean, you've heard me talk about some of the things I remember about what my father would say when I was growing up. He'd look at me and he'd say, "Son, that's a good way to skin your ignorance," when I was doing. And he'd also ask me, he said, "Son, when did that seem like a good idea to you?" And I know Mark, Don, you guys can relate to your dad saying things like that to you. I mean, just wonderful, precious memories now. But then it was kind of like, okay, we're getting ready to break for a commercial. And ladies and gentlemen, after the commercial break, we're going to be back with retired Lieutenant Colonel Mark Green. He's going to share a lot of information with us. We'll be right back.
SpeakersPathway.com is the proud sponsor of Your Future Is Now, a show dedicated and aligned in perfect harmony with the vision and mission of Speakers Pathway. Dr. Sony Jackson's expertise is on the art of marketing while cultivating a long-term customer relationship in your business world. Do you know what to say or how to deliver your message to complete strangers? If so, Sony can help you. Tamara Hunter is a cancer survivor and works with people to focus their message or mission to the audience they want to reach. Do you feel called to create a movement to make the world a better place? If so, Tamara can help you. For additional information from any of our executive training directors, go to speakerspathway.com. That is speakerspathway.com.
Have you noticed that no matter how carefully you put the Christmas lights away, they still come out all kringle-crangled and jitterty the next year? Christmas tree lights were invented in 1882 by Thomas Edison, and by 1900, these miniature versions of his electric light bulb were being advertised to the public. In 1895, Grover Cleveland proudly sponsored the first electrically lit Christmas tree in the White House, featuring more than 100 multicolored lights. By the next Christmas, members of high society were hosting flambustious Christmas tree parties. Of course, in those early days, the services of a wireman had to be obtained, as many people had considered electricity as a bit of a bugaboo. It's Marching Neighborhood. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
And welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim Grant, and we're so glad that you're back with us here on Your Future is Now, sponsored by SpeakersPathway.com. And today, Dandy Dodd, you and I have a very special guest, retired Lieutenant Colonel Mark Green. Would you share a little bit about Mark to the audience, please, sir?
Absolutely. It's my absolute pleasure. So, Jim and I both have a soft spot for the military, and we did the Pathway for Vets event back in January. And I think that's when we really connected with Mark. And Mark comes from humble beginnings. And, just like many of us, has had some struggles. But you know what? Mark made a decision. Mark decided that just because things were a certain way for him, that was not the way it had to be in the future. And so he began studying, trying to unlock, trying to find out the key to how to take things to that next level. And it's been helping people ever since. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Mark Green to the show. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's funny because just less than 24 months ago or so, I was sitting in my office as an inspector general for the Army. And as a kid growing up without really virtues and values and without really, good, clear direction until I was faced with meeting some new mentors, I really didn't have all the tools I needed to excel. And then as the Army shared things with me throughout the years of 34 years of doing it and being in boots, I just kept going, and I kept learning, and I kept growing, and I kept getting military and civilian education. But then what I realized is the real value started coming from sitting in the office and listening to veterans talk about their problems. And because I was a trusted advisor to the commanders, I got to hear things that nobody do. Right. And they share some pretty heavy stuff. And, everything from relationships to lack of finance to limiting belief and just needing some teach and train, or just real life stuff that really can just crush you if you let it. And as I left the service, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Just like so many people don't know what they want to do in transition. And I thought, wait a minute, I've just been an advisor to our commanders in the field, and I've learned more about what really takes place than a lot of people hear or change or switch. And I think that's I need to continue that on. So I thought, you know what, resilience in transition is just like it's really important. So I thought, well, this is what I want to do. So I started doing it. And that led to 2 books about resilience and a curriculum that we have to help people overcome, limiting belief problems, resetting their minds, and just taking a rest and, stopping for a second, saying, wait, I can do better. I can be better. I know that if I take action and change some thinking, it changes everything. And
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, when you were talking about that, I was relating to myself being a Vietnam veteran. Mm-hmm. The military teaches you how to, or the Army or Air Force, Marines, whoever, they teach you how to become an active member of the military, but nobody teaches you how to come home and how to face the issues, because you have a very unique way, Mark, of dealing with the issues that veterans face. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you look at that. Would you be kind enough to share that with us, please?
Yeah, so I call it, one of the things I call it is resilience with a kick. And what that means is not like I'm going to kick you in the backside. What it means is really, wherever we are, sometimes we need a little nudge. We need a little push from either an accountability partner or someone that we can trust, or a family member or a friend, or a program or a tool that we didn't have before. And so I realized that the resilience with a kick is really more about the success principles that I've learned, which is, hold yourself accountable, no blaming, no excuses. It's like, whoa, that's pretty heavy stuff. I can't blame the government, or I can't blame, my ex-wife, or I can't blame the dog for what happened today. And so as a mindset change, just taking those 2 simple principles, it changes how you are. And the second thing is, what I've learned is that, I call myself a compassionate warrior because it isn't just the achievement that we have. It's the heart. It's what's behind you. It's like, do you embody what you share? Are you authentic? Is your integrity intact? And then are you working on your subconscious? Because most of the time when we're younger and we don't really understand the subconscious mind at all, and then we're taught fight or flight, we tend to gravitate towards that every time. And your subconscious mind, what you feed it is what comes out. And I wasn't a meditation person for many years, but I have changed that because I realize the power of what you put into your mind. And it just becomes a process. It's not an event, it's a process. And that's what we share with our group.
Yeah, that's very powerful because I know, Dandy Don, I mean, the things that you do in sharing your energy and helping people to create their own story or write their own book. I mean, you and Mark here, you guys, as far as your philosophy at that, you guys are in step, aren't you?
I think we're kindred spirits, Mark. And one thing occurred to me as you were sharing that last little bit is that, what I've seen is many of us struggle with being vulnerable, with vulnerability. And I think that's especially true of people who have come from the military. But to get to where you're talking about, where you can work on yourself, where you can work on your subconscious, where you can seek the help that you really need, that takes a lot of vulnerability. And I'd love you to share what you've learned.
I think as we transition, we're used to having that, even when you put the uniform on, it feels like an armor. It's not metal, but it feels like metal because it's like that. It's my persona. It's who I am. And when you take it off, you're like, whoa, I feel uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable in this space. And so it really just becomes a mindset of, look, you already have all the tools, all the things that you've learned, how to be on time, how to do all the things that you need to do. But when we take that uniform off, that transition is not as easy as people think it is. And so you have to try to reinvent yourself. Or, some people will say, well, climbing life's ladder, you got to start at the bottom and work your way up. Well, you already have a set of skills. You already have an education level. You already have a lot of things that many people don't have that were not a part of the military. So I do believe that learning and being vulnerable, like you said, how scary it is to put your whole life in a book and then share it with everyone and have to get the Pentagon to approve it before it even goes out. That was scary for me because I was like, well, look, I'm putting all my failures, my lessons, my life lessons and everything, and my, some of my family secrets and everything. Oh my gosh, I'm putting it all out there. But I thought, you know what, this empowers others because it connects. They see I am just another person with my own set of problems, and then they can take their own set of problems, lay it over the top of the solution that we have as one tool. It's just a tool in the toolbox, but it gives them a perception that they can do more, they can be more, they can change their thinking, they can make a difference in the way that they want to. I don't even have to do what I do with all of this, but I get to do it. And I'm just blessed because I realize that taking action and being grateful to others along the way is the key. The key is not to always focus on ourselves. It's to bring value to others. And that is so powerful when you start doing that. You just feel good every day. It's a reason to get up.
It really is, Mark. And, Dandy and I, we've worked together and we've always been focused on paying it forward and how can we be a blessing to others. But as you were talking and telling your story about writing your book, I was just thinking, Dandy, with the class that we put on out there, mainly you put on, you drafted, you designed it and all, about storytelling. Imagine that some of the military personnel listening to this, they could actually start to go and grow and be able to use their story and blend in some humor, because there's a lot of funny things that happen in life, to be a blessing to others that we will never touch. And, Don, I'd like for you to, give your opinion on that and share some more insight with us.
Absolutely. And Mark, as you were sharing what you were just sharing, it does require vulnerability, because how can we, if we can't share the struggles we've had, if we can't share where we've spent thousands of hours trying to figure something out, and if we can't share our accomplishments, how are we supposed to help somebody?
Yeah.
I mean, how are we supposed to do it? Whenever we do workshops on getting clarity on who you help, those are the three things we look at. Where have you struggled badly? Where have you spent thousands or tens of thousands of hours? And then where have you had accomplishments? And that's the basis for it. But it requires that vulnerability. I'm sure you experienced this in writing your own book, Mark, and as I have with some of the things I've done.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like we tend to, as we get larger responsibility or authority, sometimes, and not more, probably not sometimes, probably the majority of the time, ego comes into play a little bit. So we have this ego about us, who we are and where we've been and what we've done. And, it can almost seem braggadocious or, like too over the top. And people are like, well, yeah, but you don't really care about me, so I don't really care. So, achievement is one thing, because I've had some. I mean, I have a law degree now, but I didn't graduate from high school. And I own a house in Hawaii, but I started out living in a mobile home, And I think back and I'm like, it isn't sometimes if we lose a little ego and we're willing to just be real with people, we peel back that surface ridiculousness that we think people want to see, and we become just another person with a problem or with, a solution. And once you do that and you really connect, then you can really have a conversation. Then you can really talk about the problems. Then you can really get through the issues that you have in your family or with yourself, and you grow. And the only time we grow is when we're outside of our comfort zone, not when we're in it. And
yeah, we're getting ready for a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back right after these messages.
This show, Your Future Is Now, is sponsored by SpeakersPathway.com. And just like the show, we are dedicated and aligned in perfect harmony with the same vision and mission of helping people to find their future. Is fear holding you back from your calling or your life mission? Do you struggle with taking that first step? If so, Bill Henrich is our catalyst to help you create perspectives with new possibilities that will bring you more peace, more joy, more love in your life and freedom. Do you struggle trying to build your strategy? Do you know how to reach your end results? If not, Gigi Ames is your expert in strategy and helping you create your step-by-step game plan to reach your finish line. For more information on creating the life you want to live, reach out to Bill Henrich. Or if Gigi Ames can help you with building your strategy with your end goal in sight, go to SpeakersPathway.com. That is SpeakersPathway.com.
It's words you never heard.
Here are some tips from the popular UK internet site BuzzFeed to help make your life a little more fun. Next time you catch a cold, try adding a touch of magic by holding a handful of glitter in front of your mouth just before you sneeze. By the way, here's a word coined by a Canadian disc jockey for that feeling you get just before you sneeze. Anticipation. Hey, slang is just language with its sleeves rolled up. The actual medical term for sneezing is sternutation. Here's a suggestion from one textpert for making a cell phone last longer. You can double the battery life of your cell phone by simply putting the darn thing down. Well, that's plain old rumble gumption, which is another word for common sense.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
And welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim Grant. We're so thankful that you're tuning in to Your Future is Now. It is sponsored by SpeakersPathway.com. And today we have a very special guest, retired Lieutenant Colonel Mark Green. And Mark, he has just done a wonderful job in reaching out to veterans because he understood the issues that veterans are facing. And he could have walked away and lived his own life. He says, no, I've got to give back. And he's given back in many ways. In fact, he's invited me and Don to be a part of his Get Resilient Summit. And Don, we're so thankful and so honored and so blessed that Mark invited us, aren't we, sir?
Absolutely. And looking at the lineup of speakers, oh my goodness, and like 60 speakers. And, you know, you and I have done events, Jim, right?
Yes.
Pull together
yes.
10 speakers, like herding cats. Oh my goodness, Mark, my hat's off to you. Look at what you put together. Such an amazing lineup and an amazing platform. And
Yes.
I'm sure people want to hear more about it.
Yeah, at first, you know, I got to thinking about, you know, the one tool that we have with our second book, which is the Warrior's Code, which is the 7 steps to vital resilience. And of course, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's one tool. But then when I thought about it, I was like, you know, there are so many other experts out there. So why don't I take some time to tap into their genius, their expertise, and give them a platform to share that with all of the veterans we can collect together. And so it took on a new meaning, which now, of course, is first giving value to those veterans, but also helping the speakers and their businesses. And at first I was like, well, it isn't just going to be veterans that are going to speak. We want people who are experts in meditation, and people who are experts in mindfulness and mindset, and people who are experts in relationships, and all of these things in business. And so I started reaching out, and what I found was really interesting. No one that I reached out to because of the networking I've done for the last couple of years said no. Everybody said, Mark, we want to be a part of this.
Yes.
And I realized that the true feelings were coming out that, oh, wow, we are a community that wants to help. We are a community that wants to give back and help that person wherever they are to that next step in their lives. And we don't know what that is, but if we allow a community like this to grow, you know, with speakers from across the world, not just from the U.S. or whatever. We have people from Canada, UK, South Africa, the U.S., Indonesia. We have them from all over the world coming into this summit to share their expertise. And the great thing is it's an evergreen summit, so we get to do it again.
That is absolutely wonderful, because I'm just sitting here listening to you talk, Mark, and Don and I think Don is probably thinking the same thing I am. Wow, you could bring in a veteran there, someone that's struggling, that doesn't know how to, fit back into society, someone that's got a dream, someone's got a passion, and with all of these speakers, they can find a pathway for them. And then if they really want to be successful, they've got to turn around and help others and pay it forward, because you need a social network. You need to be able to get your message out. You need to focus on being a blessing to others, because, Mark, that's exactly what you've done. And Dandy Don, you and I, that's why we created SpeakersPathway.com, sir.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as you were kind of commenting on Mark, what he just said, got me also thinking that, there's probably people who are going to attend the summit and hear pieces of it, and the information they're going to get is going to be incredible. I've seen the lineup. They're incredible speakers. But one thing beyond that is they're going to realize there's a whole world out there. They're going to realize there's this whole community of people out there to help them, which I think is going to be eye-opening and an incredible concept, Mark.
Yeah, and we are offering 2 options. There's a free option for any veteran or anyone that wants to build resilience in transitions. And then there is an all-access pass where we're going to take the bonuses from all of the speakers together and collect that into the thousands and thousands of dollars worth of value that will bring. So it is an option either way. But the most important thing is that we're reaching out and we're allowing people like yourselves who understand TED Talks and understand how to help somebody form their story, or how to, what do you do to market your business? Or, what do you do to learn how to meditate if you've never done it? Or how do you deal with your relationship? Or what changes do you need to make in yourself? So I just know the power of having that many people share. For 5 full days, 12 hours a day, you can listen to different pieces of resilience. And it's all about the resilience, because we are going to have things that knock us down. It's going to punch us in the grill and we're not going to be happy about it. But it's in how you respond to those things is going to change outcomes. And
yes, sir, you're exactly right. I mean, because too many people, they don't handle defeat in life well. When things don't go well, and they lose self-control. And what you're talking about there, Mark, is being able for people to say, okay, life is like a prize fight. You're going to get hit in the nose once in a while, so take a deep breath and relax, roll with the punches, and stand up. And that's what I tell people all the time. What do you share with people at times like that, Mark?
Well, I do what I try to learn that I did as an inspector general, and that's first listen and then ask questions to make sure I'm qualifying what the person's telling me. Because what I did learn in that job is that they won't always tell you everything that you need to hear. They'll tell you what they think you want to hear first. And then when you probe a little bit, you will find out that once they can kind of know you and trust you a little bit, they'll open up. Or you challenge them a little bit and say, that sounds like that's the right thing. However, what else have you done that's causing that? Or what else did you not tell me that I need to know? And I think by sometimes throwing some qualifying questions out there, you can't solve a problem. The other day, it's interesting because my son, he said, Dad, you're very good at telling me what to do, but you're not good at asking me what the problem is. And I thought, wow, what an astute thing to say to me, because he's right. I was only sharing, what I think should happen and not what he wanted me to listen to what his real problem was. So then I could qualify it. I could peel it back, and then I could, provide what I think as a parent is the right thing to do. And so I think we have to get to the problem first and let the person work internally with their situation, and then, connect them with who they need to connect with, and then help them with the problem solving and help them with their goal setting and what they need to grow, personally and professionally.
Yeah, because that's one thing Dandy, Don, and I, we've talked a lot about. And Dandy, I'd like for you to share with, when people come into speakerspathway.com, we don't try to change their way of thinking to our way of thinking. We just simply ask them, what is it that you want to do? What's your passion? What's your goals?
Exactly. I mean, I've been to so many trainings where I go away with you have to do it my way because it worked for me. And I could tell you the number of times that's worked for me. Zero. Because what works for one person doesn't work for another person. So begins with understanding where you are, where you're trying to get, and what is the best next step for you. And it's very, very different. So we help people with their pathway. And one thing I really loved what, Mark, you're doing with the summit is, probably would have been pretty easy for you to put on an event and say, hey, I want to do this teaching and have you be the center of it. But no, you took a whole different approach. You said, I'm going to pull the resources from an amazing cross section, and I'm going to take that to, a whole different 2 levels up. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and then I got scared because I started meeting people that have lists that are 500,000 people large. I was like, oh, this is going to be bigger than I can handle. I'm going to have to hire somebody. So it's crazy. Be careful what you ask for, right? But it's the great thing is that we want more people to be a part of it. We want people to see what we're doing, and then we want to grow from that. And it's okay if it grows big, because that also is going to open up more opportunities for others in the future to a live event or other things that will benefit them. And everybody gets a choice what they want to be a part of or not a part of. Somebody asked me one day, they're like, well, somebody sent me a friend request from your platform, and I said, you don't have to accept. it's not, you're not required to say yes if you don't like the person's request. And so, networking is a big thing, and it should be a big thing in any veteran business or even any business. But the good thing is that we all get a choice. If we don't like one of the speakers in the summit, or if it's not fitting for us, we don't have to respond. But if you like something, then respond to that person and ask for, whatever it is that they're sharing that you think might be of value to you. But that's up to the individual at that point, not up to me. I'm just a facilitator to allow that cross-section of those people across the world to share their expertise in a way that if somebody sees something they like, then they can go in that direction, and I don't need to be a part of that. And that's the beauty of it, is that you're right. It isn't just me sharing what I know. It's giving me the opportunity to build that community and let that community bring value at a much higher level than I could do by myself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because as you were talking, I was thinking about Dandy Don and how he, teaches people during their TEDx talks. He was a coach here in Cocoa Beach here about a month or so ago, and I'll let Dandy explain that probably after the break because we're getting ready for a break. But Dandy, his focus is always on about you want people to be able to have that feeling of tell me more. Isn't that right, Dandy?
Yeah. I mean, we teach a lot of speakers. I coach a lot of speakers, TEDx and otherwise. And, it's like a lot of people want to tell their story. A lot of speakers say, I've got a great story. I want to tell my story. But the reality is you speak to move people to action. You speak to have people say, I want to know more about you. And so there's some very specific ways to speak that get people to there. And just telling your story, that doesn't usually cut it.
Yep. You're exactly right, because people, they get bored with just hearing your story. That's why we said earlier in the broadcast, your story is an experience to people relate to, and you blend humor in there. And what Mark has done with his job after he retired from the military, he decided, I'm going to take everything that I've learned and I'm going to share it with others. We'll be right back after these messages.
Your Future Is Now is sponsored by SpeakersPathway.com, and just like the show, we are dedicated and aligned in perfect harmony with the same vision and mission of helping people define their future. You may have heard that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 1,000 pictures. Koji Sumaldi says if you're not using video in 2019, you're going to get left behind. Most people feel lost or confused when it comes to marketing. Preston Martelli is a marketing guru whose strategies are both art and science in growing your business. Preston helps you make the right decisions that are predictable, measurable, and scalable. For additional information about Koji, Preston, or any of our executive training directors, go to our website at speakerspathway.com. That is speakerspathway.com.
Did you hear about the Gaberlunzie bear caught rummaging through a refrigerator in an apartment in Colorado? The tenant heard noises coming from the kitchen and saw a bear with his head in the fridge, looking for anything it could eat. What's the word for food that's unfit for human consumption? Ma wallop. The tenant locked himself in his bedroom and called for help. What's the word for the fear of bears? Ursophobia. We have lots of bears near our Colorado cabin, and we have been told that pepper spray will keep them away. But the idea that it would keep a 500-pound grizzly bear from attacking seems ridiculous to me. I think I'll try the pepper spray on myself and hope the bear doesn't like spicy foods.
It's Marching Neighborhood.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
And welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We're continuing on here with retired Lieutenant Colonel Mark Green. Dandy, Don, and I, we've had a wonderful experience. We hope you've enjoyed the show here. It's sponsored by SpeakersPathway.com. And during the break, all of the wonderful things that Mark has shared with us, Dandy, he laid something on us about, some of the flags that's been made that's going to be used with a Harley-Davidson dealership, and that just floored me. How'd that grab you, brother?
Absolutely awesome, and what a great project. What a way to give honor. And tell us more about that, Mark.
So last year I had my first big event in Missouri, and I got sponsored by a Harley-Davidson dealer, and that dealer then allowed us to give away a tribute bike that was actually for his son. And the name of the dealer is Gold Star Harley in Missouri, in Festus, Missouri. And so as a gift to them this year, I partnered with a gentleman from Texas who makes these beautiful flags out of steel and wood, and they're large. They're 4 foot by 6 foot wide. And what we decided to do is memorialize these flags and then help the families that are memorialized within it. And we're going to create pages for that as a national campaign and get as many dealerships as we can on board with the flag so they can put them in their showrooms. And we're starting with the first one in Missouri on the 18th of May. And we're going there to take pictures of the flag and for the dedication of it. And then we're going to spread that across the nation. So because we know that the families that are hurting or have had a loss that's really detrimental to them, we want to try to give back in that way. So that's what we've decided to do.
That's amazing, because when you mentioned the Gold Star, a lot of folks that may be listening may not be familiar with what Gold Star means. Gold Star families is a family that has lost a loved one in service to their country. Mm-hmm. And whenever someone is overseas, like when my son went overseas, one of many times he's been overseas serving in Afghanistan and Iraq, we're a Blue Star family, because then we have a loved one in a combat zone serving. So that's what the Gold Star means. That's how valuable it is to those families to give them the proper respect and recognition. And Don's father, Dandy, your dad was a prisoner of war, wasn't he?
Mm. Yeah, he was a prisoner of war in World War II, was captured in France in October of 1944, and then released at the end of the war. And so while I didn't get to know my father very well, he died when I was 7, I know what these kind of things can mean to the family. So I love what you're doing, Mark. You're going to touch so many people, just showing them that there's others out there who care for them, and you want to acknowledge and honor the people who serve.
Yeah, that gentleman that owns that dealership was he was so good to us, because we had not found a good sponsor yet, and he did pick us in our event in Missouri to be, to help us, and was giving away some Harley products on the par 3, and it's just a great connection with us, and we're really blessed to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And Mark, you've shared so much wonderful information with the audience. If someone is listening and they want to get in touch with you, and they have the attitude of tell me more, I want to know about this Mark Green, I want to know about his passion, I want to know about this the summit that he's putting on. And how can people get in touch with you, sir?
Sure, that's easy. I have a premium website. It's called mark.green. That's it. No .com. Just mark.green. So you can find me on the web. The opt-in for the summit, all you have to do right now is just put your email in. It's on the homepage, on the front page of the homepage of mark.green. You can, and then once we have more information for the options of the summit, those will go out to all of the people that provide their email. And so it is www.mark.green.
Wow, that's amazing. That's real simple, easy to remember, because I'm looking here at the note you just sent me, and it's www.mark.green, green, and that's all you need. No .com, no nothing. Just enter that, and you're good to go. And Mark, I tell you, it's really been a great pleasure for us to have you on the show. But today, It's time for the Friday freebie. And Dandy Don, what do you have for us on the menu for the day, sir?
Absolutely. Always love Friday freebie time. Always time to give away some value. And there have been so many people who have been taking advantage of the free course on speakerspathway.com. I just want to put that out there again. People have been signing up for that course, getting a lot of value on it. I'm getting a lot of feedback on it. And so I just want to offer that again. So you go to speakerspathway.com. Right now, there's on our home page, you can actually get access to that course. There's also a menu for the free course that you can click on and get that course. So talks about all different kinds of stages, how to monetize speaking, tells you about the different kinds of speaking there are and how to use speaking in your business and to grow your business and build your brand.
That's really amazing because we know people are taking advantage of that because that's a valuable gift. I wish I could have found that 9 or 10 years ago when I was struggling, and you hear all these workshops about, would you like to earn 7 digits? And yeah, I still got them 7 digits right here in my hand. I can't see them though because they're all zeros,
right? Unfortunately.
And Mark, would you share with the gift that you want to give? You mentioned it earlier, please, sir, on the Friday freebie.
Sure. So I would like to sign 2 autographed copies, one of each one of our books, to 2 lucky winners. The first book is Step Out, Step Up, and the second book is Warriors Code 001. So I think you guys have something you want to share about how you want that to happen. But I will sign those for those autographed copies for the winners of today's giveaway.
Yes, we will, because when you go to speakerspathway.com, you're going to see our logo of the show, Your Future is Now, and underneath it, you're going to see Friday freebies. So click on that, and I will give the description there on how you'll be able to get in touch with us, to be able to say, hey, I want one of Mark's books, and we will get that information to Mark so he can autograph it, personalize it to you. And that's going to be something of great value because Mark, as he goes and grows with this summit and helping the veterans, I mean, this thing's just going to explode because he's got people from all over the world at his summit eager to speak. And that's a great value. Thank you so much, Mark. And Dandy, anything else would you like to share? Or Mark, this is open mic time, sir.
I just want to thank you guys for having us on today and listening to a little bit of my story, a little bit about where I've been, a little bit, and what we're trying to accomplish. It really is important to me, and I know people can see the passion sometimes in my conversation, and so it is something that I'm passionate about. And it's funny because it really comes down to getting that from others and understanding that the value that they bring. I'm so grateful for people like yourselves and others who have stepped up and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to grow too. And we've got some things that are good for others. And it just feels really good when that happens. So I just love what we're doing and why we're doing it. So.
Well, thank you, Mark.
If I could add something.
Sure.
One thing I really love about what you're doing, and Mark, you and I were just talking about this recently, how we're starting to see a shift in a new movement in businesses. And I think, we've all been to the courses, you get sold a certain kind of a way. But what we're seeing is people really reaching out to people and attracting people with their heart. And I don't know what to call it, but I really feel there's a movement out there. And I love you for being part of that movement. And we really resonate with what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's why the compassionate warrior thing comes in. Once you peel that back and you take that armor off for a second and you're just authentic with each other and you really talk, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that I really love about what Mark was doing, or Mark is doing, I should say, and also what Don and I did at the Pathway for Vets, we were very adamant. There's no selling from the stage because, as Don was saying, people are getting tired of going to these, conventions and whatever and just get pitched after pitched after pitched after pitch. and no one's really providing any real value. And we're coming from it from a different angle. Like Dandy says, I don't know what you call it, but I mean, people are they're hungry. They're looking for people that can help them get from where they are to where they want to be without some, car salesman, slick shine job. And because we all know how we feel when we get buy something through emotion and there's no substance to it. Mm-hmm. And Don, you and I have talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I really feel it's a movement. I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. Mark, you're part of that movement, and thank you for all you do. And that's one of the things Jim and I want to do is help to support that movement and help more people much more quickly.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Well, you're more than welcome, Mark. And I tell you, we're just so thankful that you took time out of your busy schedule today, because you only had just a couple of minutes from wrapping up from what you were doing before to be here live on the show. And we're just so honored. And next week, Dandy, we're going to have Mr. Preston Martelli join us. He's one of our executive training directors, and we're so glad to have Preston as a member of our team.
Yeah, I refer to Preston as Mr. Internet. He's Mr. Internet. Like every time I talk to him, he shows me a new tool or a new thing, or I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy to know you. You've saved me so much time. And so he's gonna drop some knowledge bombs on this group. So tune in.
Absolutely. And you'll also be able to get more familiar with Preston Martelli, Martelly, if you go to speakerspathway.com and just click on the About Us. You'll see his picture there along with me and Don and all of the executive training directors. But again, to Mark Green. Mark, thank you again as we get ready to wrap up here with the last closing seconds. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for sharing that information. And most importantly, thank you for continuing to march in a worthy mission.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys at the summit.
Okay, that sounds good. Dandy, I tell you right now, we're very excited to be a part of that summit, aren't we, sir?
Yeah, I can't wait. I've been working furiously. I know, Mark, I'm a little behind. I need to submit my stuff, so I'm working furiously on it.
That's okay.
I just guarantee you tons of value. That's my
awesome.
That's my personal.
We'll be here next Friday morning at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Thank you, folks. Bye-bye.